Welcome to the Justice League, where the truth meets power. London Heathrow Airport, a well-dressed black man calmly handed over his first-class ticket, only to be humiliated by a flight attendant who couldn't believe he belonged there. She slapped his hand away. She had no idea he owned the plane and the airline. By the time she found out, it was too late. Before we start the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today, and if you like the story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future stories like this one. Started like any other morning at London Heathrow Airport. The soft rumble of rolling suitcases, the persistent ping of boarding announcements, and the low murmur of passengers moving through the concourse like a tide. But fate was quietly scripting a story that would leave an entire terminal speechless. The airport, a place where millions passed each year, was the perfect setting for the collision of two very different worlds. On one side, there were the passengers, the airline staff, the polished routines. On the other, there was a man. Alone. Composed. Powerful in a way that no one there could have imagined. Elijah Ward, 36 years old, stepped out of a black Mercedes quietly idling at the curb outside Terminal 5. The driver, a kind older man who had worked with Elijah for years, opened the door with reverence. Elijah offered a small nod of thanks. There were no bodyguards, no fanfare. Just the quiet assurance of a man who moved through the world on his own terms. His tailored navy blue suit hugged his broad shoulders, tapering perfectly down his tall, athletic frame. His shoes, Italian leather, polished to a mirror finish, clicked softly against the tile as he walked. People noticed him. Not because he demanded attention, but because his presence refused to be ignored. In his right hand, he held a sleek black passport and a boarding pass for Flight 719 to New York. Seat 1A. First class. As he approached gate B32, he paused. The large glass windows behind the gate revealed the silhouette of the massive transatlantic jet, his company's jet. Though thousands flew on Ward Aviation's planes daily, few ever realized who had made that journey possible. Elijah had spent a lifetime building this empire, brick by brick, decision by decision, flight after flight. He had started with nothing. Born in South London to a single mother who worked two jobs just to keep the lights on, Elijah had grown up in the crevices of society. His mind had always been sharp: numbers, patterns, people. He had studied at night, worked in cargo loading by day. Bit by bit, his ideas outgrew his surroundings. By the age of 28, he had launched Ward Jet Services with 2 rented planes and a vision. Within 8 years, his airline had expanded across Europe and into North America. At 35, he had quietly acquired full ownership of a struggling commercial fleet and rebranded it. Now, Ward Aviation Group operated over 300 aircraft and serviced elite routes across the world. His name wasn't public. He had always believed that the real kings didn't wear crowns, they built castles. But none of that mattered to the flight attendant who stood behind the boarding podium at gate B32. She was in her 30s, sharp-featured, dressed in crisp uniform blues and a bright red neck scarf. Her name tag read C. Whitaker. She had seen hundreds of passengers a day, and she prided herself on efficiency. She also prided herself on instinct. So when Elijah handed her his ticket and said, "First class," Elijah Ward, she didn't even glance at the seat number. Her smile was polite, but not warm. "Sir," she said, stepping slightly in front of the gate, "this line is reserved for first-class passengers only." Elijah raised a brow, but remained calm. "Yes. I know." He held out the ticket again, with patient firmness. She looked at it. Seat 1A. Her smile wavered. Then she looked back at him. "This must be a mistake," she said. "Where did you get this ticket?" "I booked it." "I'm sorry," she said flatly. "This seat is for elite flyers. If you need help rebooking in economy, I can call someone." He gave her a long, unreadable look. "I'm exactly where I need to be." Passengers around them began to shift. A businessman looked up from his phone. A couple in business class paused their conversation. Elijah felt the familiar weight of eyes. It was the same weight he'd felt as a teenager when store owners followed him through aisles for no reason. The same weight he'd felt when banks rejected his loan proposals before even opening the folder. It was judgment. Dressed as procedure. She sighed, clearly irritated now. She grabbed the ticket from his hand and studied it again. And as she realized it was legitimate, she did something unimaginable. With a sharp motion, she slapped his hand away as he reached for the ticket back. "Don't try anything," she said under her breath. "People like you are always looking to stir up trouble." Gasps. Audible ones. Elijah felt a wave of heat wash over his ears. Not from anger. From restraint. From every muscle in his body fighting the urge to respond. He took a breath. Then another. And he stepped aside. From the inside pocket of his blazer, he pulled out a sleek black phone. He tapped one button. Typed 5 words. Gate B32. Immediate intervention required. He put the phone away and stood silently. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then they arrived. 5 executives. All in black suits. All moving with speed and purpose. A tall woman in heels whispered into Whitaker's ear. Another man approached Elijah and shook his hand. Whitaker's face blanched. She looked as if the oxygen had been pulled from the air. One of the execs spoke quietly, but clearly enough. You just insulted the man who owns the airline. The words hit the air like a bomb. Passengers gawked. Someone started filming. Elijah said nothing. He didn't need to. Whitaker was quickly and silently replaced by another attendant. Her voice had vanished. Her posture crumpled. And just like that, she was gone. The captain himself emerged from the jet and walked up to Elijah. "Mr. Ward," he said, "your seat is ready. And the crew is at your service." Elijah nodded. He boarded the plane. Seat 1A welcomed him with open space and quiet luxury. He sank into the plush leather, closed his eyes for a moment, and exhaled. The sky was his again. And though no apology had been spoken aloud, he knew the message had been heard. Never assume. Never judge. Because the one you think doesn't belong may very well own the ground beneath your feet and the air above your head. On board the jet, as Elijah settled in, the world outside faded away, replaced by the gentle hum of engines preparing for takeoff. His mind wandered, reflecting on how far he had come and the battles he had faced just to be seen as equal in spaces that often dismissed him. Each flight he led was not simply about transporting passengers but about redefining perceptions, smashing stereotypes like glass ceilings. The cabin crew, now poised and attentive, served him a glass of champagne, acknowledging him with unspoken respect. Elijah lifted the glass, toasting not just to his journey but to the many unseen successes of countless others who had been underestimated. As the jet began its ascent, Elijah gazed out the window, watching the patchwork of London fade beneath the clouds. Memories flooded back, nights spent studying while others partied, the endless rejections that had shaped his resolve, and moments of quiet triumph that launched him forward. Here, high above the city, he felt a sense of liberation that only came with hard-fought victory. Each mile gained in altitude symbolized progress not just for himself but for everyone who challenged the status quo. He savored the crisp flavor of the champagne, knowing it was not merely a drink, but a tribute to resilience and relentless pursuit. Elijah's thoughts drifted to his childhood, where dreams were often overshadowed by doubt. He recalled the whispers of educators who doubted his potential and peers who sneered at his aspirations. It was a world where the color of his skin often dictated the narrative, a narrative he had violently rewritten through determination. Each polished airplane he owned and every route he pioneered had become chapters in his story of defiance. At that moment, he allowed himself a rare smile of contentment, a smile recognizing not just his battle scars, but the victories of those still fighting. The endless sky stretched before him, a canvas of possibilities waiting to be painted with ambitions unbound. Here, he reflected, he was not just an owner of an airline, but a representative of every dreamer who dared to soar beyond their circumstances. As the jet pierced through the clouds, a deep sense of peace settled over Elijah. The turbulence of the day below felt like a distant memory, fading in the rearview mirror of his thoughts. He leaned back into the seat, allowing himself to embrace the moment. The engine roar was a soothing reminder of his achievements. In his mind's eye, he envisioned the boardroom meetings that had shaped his empire, sharp discussions, difficult negotiations, and the unwavering belief that he could carve out space in an industry that often dictated who was worthy. Each challenge faced had fortified his resolve, transforming him into the leader he was today. Here, in the sanctuary of his aircraft, he felt the weight of that journey. It was not just his victory, but a testament for those who would follow. As he took another sip, Elijah glanced at his reflection in the polished window. The man staring back had weathered storms, faced adversity, and emerged unbroken. He thought about the generations that had come before him. Their dreams and struggles had built a foundation. Like this video, make sure to give thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories.